Welcome, fellow explorers of the night. Tonight, we journey into a world that rarely pauses, the strange and wondrous realm of animal sleep. From the swaying branches where birds drift in half-sleep, to the vast oceans where whales and dolphins rest with one eye open, we will discover the remarkable ways life surrenders to slumber. As you settle in, allow your body to relax, your mind to soften, and let the rhythms of nature guide you. Together, we'll witness how creatures both small and mighty navigate rest, revealing secrets of survival, adaptation, and the quiet poetry hidden in every pause. If you love exploring the hidden patterns of nature, and if the gentle mysteries of science help you unwind and dream, make sure to support this journey. Like this video, share it with others who cherish calm discovery. Leave a comment with your thoughts or favorite animal sleep fact. And subscribe so you never miss another voyage into the quiet wonders of our world. Now, take a deep breath, let your eyes close softly, and step into the strange, soothing, and unforgettable world of animal sleep. Night spreads its quiet veil, and every living creature, from tiny insect to great whale, hears its call to pause. Sleep becomes a shared language of the earth, connecting you to animals in ways you rarely imagine. In this stillness, you are reminded that rest is not weakness, but an ancient rhythm of survival. The story of animal sleep begins with this shared silence. The day has been long, and now the light begins to fade. The horizon softens, colors dim, and the air cools. You feel the quiet presence of evening settle into your body like a gentle cloak. Somewhere deep within you, a switch is flicked, ancient and silent, a reminder that you, like all living creatures, belong to the rhythm of the earth. The whisper of darkness is not just for you. It is for every creature that breathes, crawls, swims, or soars. It is for the fox retreating into its den, for the bird folding its wings into the safety of a branch, for the whale that must balance sleep with breath, for the beetle hidden in the soil, stilling its restless legs. You are not alone in this descent into stillness. Sleep is a universal language, spoken across the entire living world. Imagine the planet as it spins, half bathed in light, half covered in shadow. Wherever the shadow falls, a chorus of creatures surrenders, each in its own way, to rest. From the Arctic tundra to the tropical rainforest, the pattern repeats. Day into night, wake into sleep, movement into stillness. You are part of this great wave, a tide older than memory itself. But why does sleep exist at all? At first glance, it seems strange, almost dangerous. To sleep is to let go of awareness, to become vulnerable, unguarded. Why would nature design such a fragile state? Yet, as you listen to your own slowing breath, you realize that sleep is not absence. It is a hidden form of life, a time when your body turns inward, repairing, storing, remembering. The same is true for animals. For some, sleep is a brief flicker of rest, hardly more than a pause. For others, it is long and deep, like slipping into another world. And while the forms differ, the essence remains. Without sleep, no creature thrives. Even the smallest fruit fly falters when deprived of it. Even the strongest elephant cannot go on without surrendering to its touch. Sleep, fragile as it may, appear is necessary, as essential as food or water. Close your eyes and picture the sun setting over the savannah. Herds of wildebeests slow their grazing. Birds make their final calls before silence spreads across the grasses. The lions, however, stir. For them, night is not rest, but awakening. And yet, when their bellies are full, they will lie down in hours of heavy slumber, lost in feline dreams. Here you see the truth. Sleep does not obey one law, but bends itself. To each creature's life. In the forest, the patterns differ again. The owl opens its eyes wide as night deepens, its feathers catching moonlight. Its sleep comes later, in hidden places, when daylight makes hunting impossible. Meanwhile, squirrels curl into nests, small bodies shivering into warmth. Even among neighbors, sleep is shaped by need, by danger, by the delicate balance of survival. Think of the ocean now, vast and endless, stretching into darkness. In its depths, creatures face another challenge. They cannot close their eyes to rest as you do, for they must continue to move, to breathe, to avoid predators. And so their sleep evolves into something new. Half-sleep, unihemispheric rest, where one half of the brain dreams while the other keeps watch. A dolphin drifts near the surface, one eye open, one closed, balanced perfectly between vigilance and surrender. This is the artistry of evolution. Sleep reshaped, but never abandoned. You might notice a rhythm in all of this. Sleep is not a mistake nor a lapse, but a pattern, an ancient tide that flows through every living form. Some rest in long, deep waves, others in tiny, rapid ripples. Together they form a mosaic of slumber, a shared inheritance of life on Earth. Your own body carries this inheritance too. As night unfolds, your heart slows, your temperature drops, your muscles loosen, though your mind does not disappear. Instead, it travels into cycles, into dreams, into quiet stages that nurture your memory, your learning, your healing. Animals move through their own stages as well, though in different tempos and depths. The horse, for instance, spends little time in rapid eye movement sleep, the stage where vivid dreaming occurs. Cats, by contrast, swim often in this dream-rich state, twitching their paws as though chasing mice in their sleep. Pause here and feel your own body mirroring this truth. Your breath, your heartbeat, your heaviness. These are not separate from the patterns of the fox, or the bird, or the dolphin. They are echoes of the same call. You are part of something larger, a symphony of rest, written not in words, but in rhythms and silences. Science shows us that sleep is deeply conserved, meaning that across millions of years, through countless branches of evolution, it has remained. From insects to humans, its presence endures. This suggests it is not optional, not a convenience, but a foundation of life. To study sleep is to peer into one of the oldest secrets of biology. To feel sleep, as you do now, is to participate in that mystery directly. The quiet of night hides these patterns, yet they unfold constantly. Consider the polar bear in its icy home, adjusting its rhythms to seasons of endless light and endless darkness, or the desert lizard, resting in bursts when the heat becomes unbearable. Each adapts, reshaping the universal need into a personal form. But the essence never vanishes. Sleep, however brief or strange, is always there. And so, when you rest tonight, you rest with the earth. You rest with the beetle in its burrow, with the whale at the surface, with the bird on its perch. You are not merely closing your eyes, but joining an ancient community of sleepers. The darkness whispers to all of you, and all of you answer, each in your own way. Perhaps you wonder then, what is it like to live with so little sleep? How do animals manage when their slumber is brief or interrupted? The elephant, for example, sleeps less than most creatures, often just 2 hours a night, sometimes standing, sometimes lying down. Yet it survives, even thrives, with this economy of rest. Its dreams may be shorter than yours, but they carry the same weight, the same necessity. There is beauty in this diversity, in seeing how rest shapes itself around each life. Sleep is not rigid but fluid, adjusting to size, to habitat, to danger. You may think of your own sleep as a simple act. You close your eyes, drift off, wake again. But when you look at the tapestry of animal slumber, you realize that sleep is many things at once. It is light and deep, short and long, fragile and fierce. It is vulnerability And it is powered out here. In this first chapter of the story, you see only the beginning. The darkness has whispered, and you have listened. You have stepped into the quiet corridor where all creatures meet, bound by a need older than memory. Yet there is more to learn. The universal call to rest leads to questions. Why so many forms? Why such variety in this shared rhythm? The answer lies in journeys to come. To walk with elephants and their gentle half-sleep. To follow birds across endless skies, their minds resting even as wings beat forward. To drift into oceans where whales dream half awake. Each chapter reveals another face of this mystery, another way life responds to the same ancient call. And so, as you feel your own body loosen into stillness, you hold this thought: sleep is everywhere. It is within you and around you, carried by every living being that surrenders to the night. Yet what is it like to live with only fragments of rest? What lessons do the great and gentle elephants carry as they move through life with so little sleep and still, somehow, find dreams? Elephants, wise and wandering, sleep fewer hours than you. They drift in short, delicate naps, sometimes standing, sometimes lying under the stars. Their dreams are brief but meaningful, a reminder that even the largest beings on earth need only a whisper of sleep to continue their journey. You begin to wonder how little rest is truly enough. The world grows hushed when the elephant rests. It is not the heavy, unbroken sleep that you know, the kind that carries you through long hours of the night. Instead, it comes in fragments, short, careful, delicate as the lifting of a leaf in the breeze. Elephants, the largest land animals alive, live with only a fraction of the sleep you require. 2 hours, sometimes even less, is all they need to continue their endless journey across savannas and forests. As you imagine them now, you see a herd moving beneath the wide dome of an African sky. The day has been long, full of walking, feeding, drinking, remembering. The elephants have covered miles, seeking food and water, their bodies heavy, yet graceful. The youngest calves huddle close to their mothers, learning the map of survival. With each step, when night spreads its soft cover, the herd slows. The air cools, insects sing, and the vast plain grows still. Here, the elephants find their rest. Yet their rest does not resemble yours. Sometimes they lower their great bodies to the ground, folding their legs, curling slightly to one side, surrendering to gravity. At other times, they remain standing, their heads drooping, eyes half closed. Sleep arrives in brief moments, never careless, never complete. For a creature so powerful, their slumber is surprisingly fragile. Why so little sleep? Science tells us that elephants live with enormous demands. Their size requires them to eat almost constantly, up to hundreds of pounds of vegetation each day. Sleep, though essential, must yield to hunger. If they linger too long in stillness, their bodies cannot sustain themselves. And so, evolution writes their rhythm. Shorter sleep, balanced by endless movement, a compromise between rest and survival. You feel the weight of this truth. Sleep is not equal across species. It bends to the needs of life, to the environment, to danger. For the elephant, every moment must serve the body's vast hunger and the mind's endless awareness. And yet, within their brief slumber, something remarkable unfolds. They still dream. Dreaming in elephants is fleeting, but real. When lying down, they sometimes drift into REM sleep, the stage where eyes move quickly beneath closed lids, and the brain dances with images and memory. It is here that your own vivid dreams arise, weaving fragments of waking life into story. For elephants, this state comes rarely, perhaps only once every few days, and still it is enough. Even in this rarest form, they find a way to gather memory, to store experience, to process the richness of their wandering lives. picture an elephant dreaming under the stars. Its body, massive and steady, shifts slightly in the dust. A trunk twitches. The great ears flicker. Perhaps it dreams of water, of rivers remembered from long journeys. Perhaps of the faces of its herd, stored in astonishing detail, for elephants carry memories that span decades. Just as you dream of places and people, they too dream of what matters to them: survival, belonging, connection. And so, you discover that dreams are not measured in hours, but in depth. Even the briefest sleep can hold meaning. You too may have woken from a short nap with an image vivid and strange, a dream that clings to you more fiercely than nights of deeper slumber. The elephant reminds you that it is not always the length of rest that matters, but the quality of its touch. Elephants also carry a secret about memory. Science has shown that sleep helps animals, including humans, to consolidate, to take experiences of the day and weave them into knowledge. In experiments with other mammals, scientists noticed that neurons replay patterns during sleep, almost as if rehearsing events, strengthening learning. Elephants, with their extraordinary recall of waterholes, of migration paths, of family bonds, surely use their brief sleep in similar ways. Their brains, though only sparingly given time for rest, still perform the delicate weaving of memory, thread by thread. Now imagine the herd again. They do not all sleep at once. Like sentinels in rotation, some remain watchful while others rest. The night carries dangers. Lions may prowl, or humans may approach. Sleep, therefore, is a communal act, shared and protected by the group. One elephant lowers its head, while another keeps its eyes open. Together they maintain balance, safety in vigilance, renewal in slumber. This rhythm, part wakefulness, part sleep, resembles the oceanic creatures you will soon meet, those who never fully let go. In this way, the elephant foreshadows what is to come in your journey, the art of half-sleep, of compromise between surrender and survival. You may wonder what it feels like to live this way, to sleep for only fragments, to rest lightly, to carry on each day with such little pause. In your own life, a single night of poor sleep may leave you heavy, fogged, yearning for more. But the elephant is built for it. Its biology is tuned, its needs balanced. What seems impossible to you is natural. For them, evolution sculpts the body not for comfort, but for survival. And still, there is tenderness in their rest. A calf lies beside its mother, trunk draped gently over her leg, eyes closed in trust. In those small moments of quiet, sleep is not merely survival, but intimacy. Just as you may curl beside someone you love, sharing warmth and safety, elephants, too, find comfort in closeness. Sleep is a language of connection, as much as of biology. Notice, too, how the elephant chooses when to lie down. Studies suggest that they may recline more often when feeling safe. When danger feels distant, safety permits surrender. Perhaps you recognize this in yourself. You sleep deepest when you feel secure, when the night holds you gently. The elephant shows you that rest, at its core, is built on trust. Trust in place, in companions, in the silence of the dark. There is something humbling in knowing that the largest land animals, towering, powerful, strong, rely on so little sleep. It reminds you that rest is not about strength or size, but about adaptation, about finding just enough to endure. You, too, may sometimes worry about how much sleep you need, measuring hours, counting minutes. The elephant whispers to you, it is not always the number that matters. What matters is the renewal, the surrender, however brief, that allows life to continue. Science continues to puzzle over the details. Why do elephants need so little when smaller creatures, like bats, sleep almost the entire day? Why such variation? The answer lies in energy, in risk, in the demands of daily survival. For elephants, The need to eat, to move, to travel vast distances outweighs the need for long slumber. Their bodies, enormous and efficient, conserve what they can, while their brief sleep delivers what is essential. As you breathe slowly now, you can sense this balance within yourself too. There are nights when sleep comes easily, in long stretches, carrying you deeply. And there are nights when sleep is lighter, broken. Yet both hold value. Both belong to the rhythm of being alive. The elephant shows you that rest need not be perfect to be meaningful. Picture one last image. The herd, beneath a starlit sky. A mother elephant lowers herself, curling gently, trunk resting on the earth. Around her, others stand still, swaying, eyes drifting shut in short naps. The silence of the savannah is punctuated only by distant calls, by the soft stirring of leaves. It is a scene of quiet resilience, of life sustained by just enough rest. And here, as you linger in this image, you sense the question beginning to form. If such giants can live on so little, what of the creatures who must rest while they move? What of those who, unlike elephants, cannot stop their journey even to sleep? The sky above you seems to be open, wide, and endless. Somewhere high above, wings are beating, even as half a brain drifts into slumber. High above oceans, birds surrender to half sleep, while wings still carry them forward. One hemisphere of the brain rests while the other stays awake, guiding them safely through vast skies. Their drifting slumber reveals the astonishing flexibility of sleep, a balance of vigilance and surrender. Sleep becomes not absence, but a delicate negotiation with the world. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the sky at dusk. The horizon glows faintly, the last strands of daylight fading into indigo. Above you, the air feels vast and endless. Here, sleep is not confined to beds or dens or nests. Here, in the high, unbroken openness of the atmosphere, some creatures carry their rest with them. They do not stop. They do not land. They surrender to sleep while still in motion, wings stretched wide against the wind. You picture a bird, perhaps a frigate bird, black feathers outlined in the fading glow of the sun. For weeks, it has been gliding over the sea, never once touching the surface. It rides the thermals, rising with the warm air currents, circling, drifting, conserving energy. And yet, even in this endless flight, it must sleep. How does it rest without falling? The answer reveals itself in one of the most remarkable adaptations in nature: half sleep. Birds, like dolphins in the oceans you will soon visit, practice what is called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. One half of the brain sleeps, while the other remains awake. One eye closes, while the other stays open, watching the world, keeping balance, guiding flight. It is a compromise, a delicate negotiation between the need to rest and the need to survive. As you let this image settle in, you realize how astonishingly flexible sleep can be. For you, sleep often feels like an on or off state. You are either awake, alert, thinking, or you are asleep, unaware. But in the world of birds, the boundaries are softer, more fluid. Sleep is not absence, but adjustment, reshaped by necessity. The frigate bird continues to soar, even as half its brain drifts into a quieter rhythm. Imagine the sensation, the body moving automatically, wings stretched, air flowing across feathers. One eye closed to the world, the other still open to the horizon. Half the mind relaxed, the other vigilant. It is a portrait of balance, of survival, carried in the very structure of rest. Science has measured this, studied it with tiny devices placed on the heads of migrating birds. Recordings of brain waves show the alternating hemispheres, switching between activity and sleep. The results confirm what seemed almost impossible. Birds can rest mid-flight, surrendering just enough of the mind to renew themselves without ever stopping. you might find yourself marveling what kind of dreams, if any, could arise in such a state. Are there fleeting visions in this half-sleep? Or is it a quiet emptiness, a pause without image or story? Researchers do not yet know. The dreams of birds remain mysteries, their inner worlds hidden behind the flutter of closed eyes. But still, you can wonder, when a bird drifts on the wind, does it see in its resting mind the ocean waves below, the memory of a distant island, the shape of a storm cloud? The frigate bird is not the only traveler of sleep in the sky. Consider the swift, another bird famous for its endless flight. Common swifts may remain airborne for months at a time, feeding, mating, even sleeping on the wing. Only when it is time to nest do they return to the ground. You feel the immensity of that. A life lived almost entirely in motion, where sleep itself has been adapted to movement. The sky becomes not only a pathway, but a bed, a resting place without walls or shelter. What does it mean to rest in such a way? It teaches you that sleep is not always the complete surrender, you know. Sometimes it is partial, fragmented, carefully balanced with vigilance. For the bird, sleep cannot mean vulnerability, not here, not in the open sky. And so, nature bends. One hemisphere rests, the other protects. In this way, life continues. Your own body cannot do this. When you sleep, your whole brain joins the process. But you may have felt glimpses of such states, moments when you drift in half-awareness, one part of you awake, another already entering dreams. Perhaps you've nodded off on a train, sensing the motion around you even as you sink into sleep. Birds, however, perfect this balance, turning it into survival itself. And this, too, speaks to a broader truth, that sleep is not a single pattern but a spectrum. It shifts and reshapes itself, depending on need, on habitat, on risk. The frigate birds sleep in the sky, the elephants' brief naps on land, the dolphins half sleep in the sea. All are answers to the same ancient question: how can life continue, renew, and endure while still protecting itself? As you watch the imaginary frigate birds soaring in your mind, you sense the beauty of this compromise. Sleep here is not a luxury, but a function. It is pared down to its essence, just enough to restore, never so much that the bird loses balance. Even in flight, even surrounded by an endless ocean, rest finds a way. There is another layer to this story, one that science has only begun to explore. Sleep in birds seems tied not only to survival, but also to learning. Migratory journeys are long, filled with challenges, changing winds, shifting stars, the memory of routes that stretch across continents. Some researchers wonder if birds use their sleep, even in flight, to process navigation, to store maps of the sky. In this way, sleep becomes not only a pause, but a compass, guiding them onward. Think of your own dreams, how often they replay pieces of your day, weaving them into strange and vivid stories. A bird, perhaps, does something similar, rehearsing patterns of flight, storing the stars as landmarks in its quiet half-sleep. You cannot know for certain, but the possibility glimmers. The sky, after all, is a vast and demanding landscape. To cross it, the mind must carry memory as much as the wings carry the body. Let yourself drift with them now, across open seas where the horizon blurs into clouds. Hours pass, days blur, yet the bird continues, guided by instinct and by its quiet fragments of rest. You feel the rhythm in your own body. One eye closing, one eye opening, a strange balance between surrender and awareness. You are there with the bird, resting while moving, dreaming while still awake. It is humbling to realize how adaptable life can be. You often think of sleep as rigid, as something fixed, a nightly obligation, structured and whole. But here, you see its malleability. Sleep is not bound to night, nor to stillness, nor even to safety. It bends, it reshapes, it negotiates with the environment. For the bird on the wind, sleep is not escape but compromise, a way to exist in two worlds. At once, the thought may comfort you. Perhaps in your own life, sleep sometimes feels elusive, imperfect, fragmented. Perhaps there are nights when you wake, when rest does not come easily. The birds remind you, imperfection is still enough. Even half sleep holds value. Even fragments of rest sustain life. The sky itself whispers this truth through the beating of wings. Now, as you imagine the bird gliding, you notice the connection forming with the world below. The ocean, vast and deep, mirrors the sky, just as birds rest. While moving above the waves, creatures below the surface must also find their own delicate balance. Whales and dolphins, too, surrender to half sleep, their bodies rising and falling with the rhythm of breath. And so, as the bird continues its endless journey, you begin to sense the pull of the sea, a new story waiting below the horizon. Sleep, you realize, is not confined to land or air, but extends into the depths of the ocean, reshaping itself once more in the language of breath and water. In the deep blue, whales and dolphins cannot fully let go. They sleep with half a brain awake, surfacing to breathe even in dreams. Their rest is a careful dance between survival and surrender, reminding you of the breath that ties waking and sleeping together. The ocean whispers that sleep is not a single shape, but a spectrum of adaptation. The ocean is never truly still. Even when the surface lies flat and shining like a sheet of glass, there is motion beneath, currents drifting, creatures gliding, hearts beating. You imagine yourself floating there, cradled in endless blue, rocked gently as though in a cradle, made of water. It is here, in this world of weightlessness, that some of the largest beings on earth close their eyes, but never completely. Whales and dolphins belong to the cetacean family mammals, like you. And because they are mammals, their lungs must pull in air, just as yours do. Yet the ocean is their home, and to rest fully in water poses a challenge. If they were to sink into deep, dream-heavy sleep, they would forget to breathe, and their lives would drift away with the current. So instead, they have crafted another way, an extraordinary compromise between survival and surrender. You might close your eyes at night and let both halves of your brain drift into rest. But for dolphins and for whales, this luxury does not exist. Instead, only one hemisphere of their brain sleeps at a time. The other half remains awake, vigilant, guiding them gently upward toward the surface for air. This kind of rest is called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. Even the word feels delicate, like a tide rising and falling in soft rhythm. Picture a dolphin, gliding slowly beneath the surface. One eye closes while the other remains open, watching the shimmering world. Half the brain sinks into deep, quiet waves of rest, while the other half listens, guards, remembers to rise. In this way, they breathe through sleep. They live between two states, never entirely awake, never entirely gone. If you have ever tried to nap in a busy place, you know this feeling. Perhaps you drifted off on a train, your head resting against the window, yet part of you stayed alert. You noticed the jolt of the track, the murmurs of people, the call of your stop. Half asleep, half aware. That same state stretched across. A lifetime is the nightly reality for dolphins and whales, and yet it is enough. A dolphin may rest like this for several hours each day. A sperm whale may drift vertically in the water, nose pointing upward, body swaying gently like a leaf caught in slow current. From the surface, such a resting whale appears almost like a buoy, floating in silence. For a long time, humans did not know what they were witnessing. Only recently did scientists discover that these vertical gatherings of whales were not idle moments, but a kind of dreaming. Breath remains their tether. Every few minutes, even while one half of the brain slumbers, the other half remembers. Rise, breathe, return. Breath is the thin bridge between their waking and their resting, the rhythm that never pauses. And in this, they are not so different from you. For when you sleep, your body continues its breath. Slow, steady, rising, falling lungs, remembering what the mind forgets. Breath carries you too, across the river of sleep. Imagine now the life of an orca mother. For the first weeks after her calf is born, she does not sleep at all. She swims constantly, her newborn by her side, surfacing for air again and again. The calf is not ready to manage sleep and breathing together, so the mother keeps watch, her eyes open against exhaustion. In this sleepless devotion, she reveals a truth rest in the animal world is sometimes sacrificed for care, for love, for survival. Eventually, the calf learns to manage half-brain sleep. Eventually, the mother rests again. The ocean has a way of blurring boundaries. Above, the stars may shine, yet beneath, darkness folds around every creature. In this darkness, whales and dolphins drift in their half-dreaming state, listening with sonar, feeling the vibrations of the deep. It is a strange kind of sleep, a sleep that does not let go of the world, but keeps one hand upon it. To you, this might feel like standing at the doorway of rest, leaning against the threshold, but never stepping fully inside. Science tells us that during unihemispheric sleep, brain activity slows only on one side. The other remains bright with patterns of wakefulness. The body relaxes, but not completely. The muscles loosen, but not to the point of danger. The result is survival shaped into rhythm, a nightly negotiation with the sea. It is not the deep surrender you feel in your own bed, but it is still sleep, still restoration, still life. Sometimes dolphins rest at the surface, floating still and silent, like shadows carved into the water. Other times they swim slowly, almost aimlessly, as though walking in their dreams. Their groups, called pods, often rest together, each member taking turns, one side of each brain resting, the other half listening for danger, for calls, for the breathing rhythm of companions. It is a collective slumber, a shared state of half-awareness that binds them as family. Perhaps you, too, know the comfort of resting near others. The way your breathing syncs with someone sleeping beside you. The way silence feels softer when shared. In the ocean, that comfort extends across miles, a pod drifting together in gentle watchfulness. Sleep, even half-sleep, becomes a bond. Whales, some of the largest beings ever to live on Earth, also surrender to this kind of partial rest. The mighty sperm whale, diving thousands of meters for food, returns to the surface to sleep. It tilts its body upward, closes one eye, and floats. Sometimes several whales gather together in these vertical dreams, their immense bodies aligned, like pillars of the sea, silent, still, breathing in rhythm with the tide. To imagine a creature so vast, suspended in half-consciousness, is to glimpse the mystery of life's adaptability. If giants of the deep can rest with only half their minds, what does that say about the essence of sleep? Perhaps sleep is not a rigid state, but a spectrum, an art of balance. For you, balance may come in the form of a full night's rest. For them, balance is half awake, half dreaming, tethered always to breath. The human mind often treats sleep as all or nothing, awake or asleep, present or gone. But nature whispers something else. It whispers that rest can be fluid, bending itself, a round need shaped by circumstance. Dolphins and whales prove this with every night they float in their divided dreams. And so, as you breathe here, you may feel the kinship of that rhythm. Your lungs expand, then release, without your command. You do not tell them to keep going, and yet they do. In this way, you too share a thread of trust with the ocean mammals. You too rest upon the loyalty of breath. Close your eyes for a moment and picture it. An endless sea. A pod of dolphins gliding slowly through moonlit waters. One eye closed, the other open, each body resting in rhythm. The world around them is vast, but they are together, floating between sleep and wakefulness. You may feel yourself drifting with them, rocking gently with the tide, learning how sleep is not absence, but presence in another form. There is wonder in this compromise. The ocean does not forgive complete forgetting, and yet life has found a way to rest, to dream, to breathe, all at once. Half the mind awake, half the mind at peace. A delicate harmony written into the bodies of whales and dolphins, practiced for millions of years beneath waves. You return again to the thought of the orca mother, sleepless for her child. You return to the image of sperm whales floating like statues in the twilight. And you return to your own breath, rising and falling like the tide. You notice how survival and surrender are not opposites, but partners. Together they shape rest, in sea and on land. The ocean holds this truth gently, carrying it forward in every ripple. And as you listen, as you breathe, you may begin to wonder if dolphins can sleep while swimming, if whales can dream while rising. For air, what other shapes might sleep take across the living world? Perhaps in the silence of the forest, perhaps in the stillness of the sky, perhaps in wings that fold and unfold, even in flight. Through long winters, bears slip into a slowed rhythm, their bodies conserving energy as the earth itself rests beneath snow. Hibernation is not simple sleep, but a deeper silence, a suspended state of waiting. You feel the pull of this patience, a reminder that your own rest, too, is a kind of renewal. The great stillness of bears becomes a mirror for your own quiet. Moments of pause. Snow falls in slow silence, covering the forest in white. The air is crisp, the world muffled, and yet, beneath this blanket of stillness, life continues quietly, unseen. Bear, hidden in the darkness of its den, breathes softly. Its body has surrendered to a rhythm, not of days and nights, but of seasons. This is not the sleep you know at the end of your day. This is hibernation, a long, timeless pause, a patient waiting for the return of warmth. You picture the bear curled deep in its den, its fur thick and heavy, its breath slow and steady, its heartbeat gentle as a lullaby. Unlike your nightly rest, this sleep is not about slipping into dreams and waking with the sunrise. Instead, it is a kind of surrender to the earth itself, a union with winter. The bear's body becomes a quiet flame, burning only enough to keep life alive. In your own rest, your temperature shifts, your breath slows, your muscles repair. But for the bear, these changes extend beyond what you imagine. Its heart beats nearly half as slowly as it does in summer. Its breathing, once deep and strong, becomes shallow, like the soft touch of a breeze on still water. Even digestion, the busy work of breaking down food, falls silent. The bear has no meals during this season, no feasts or sips of water. It carries within it all that it needs, stored in the strength of fat gathered through months of summer and fall. It is easy to think of hibernation as sleep stretched long across weeks and months. Yet, it is not sleep in the way you close your eyes at night. Bears drift into a state scientists call torpor, deeper than sleep, lighter than death, a space in between. In torpor, the bear's body temperature drops only slightly compared to smaller hibernating animals, like ground squirrels, whose warmth nearly disappears. Bears hold on to more heat, remaining ready to wake if needed. This is important, for a mother bear, even in hibernation, may wake to give birth. Imagine that, in the still silence of a frozen winter, a cub is born, barely larger than a teacup. Blind and helpless, it finds warmth against its mother's body. The mother, though drowsy and still, stirs enough to guide her newborn toward milk. And so, life begins in the very heart of hibernation. While the forest outside sleeps beneath the weight of snow, new life is nurtured in darkness and quiet. This, too, is a secret of hibernation, that in stillness, growth can happen. Not everything requires constant movement or noise. Some of the most important beginnings in the life of a bear and in your own life unfold in quiet places beneath layers of stillness. You may notice, too, that not all bears hibernate the same way. The length and depth of their rest depend on where they live. In colder regions where winters are long and food is scarce, bears may stay in their dens for up to 7 months. In milder places, they may hibernate only briefly, or sometimes not at all. Their rhythms are tuned to their landscapes, just as your sleep is shaped by your world, by the length of nights, by the noise of your surroundings, by the pulse of your daily life. There is something deeply humbling about this. The bear does not resist winter and does not struggle against its scarcity. Instead, it listens to the season, obeys its call, and adapts. It reminds you that rest is not only an act of recovery, but also of wisdom, knowing when to pause, when to conserve, when to wait. Science reveals more wonders when you look closer. During hibernation, bears do not eat, drink, urinate, or defecate. You might imagine what would happen if you stopped these rhythms for so long. Your body would suffer. Yet bears emerge from their dens, not weak and fragile, but strong and ready. Their muscles remain surprisingly intact. Their bones do not lose density as yours might if you lay still for months. They have evolved a remarkable ability to recycle waste products into useful nutrients, turning what would be harmful into sustenance. It is as if their bodies carry a secret alchemy, transforming stillness into survival. You may see a lesson here for yourself. In your hurried life, stillness often feels unproductive, even wasteful. Yet the bear shows you otherwise. Stillness can be a form of strength, a way of conserving and transforming, of preparing for what comes next. Think for a moment of the heartbeat of a bear in hibernation, slowed from 50 beats per minute to as few as 8. The rhythm is spacious, patient, almost like the rhythm of the earth itself. You may notice your own heartbeat as you listen, and you may feel it slow, just a little, in sympathy. There is something contagious in the bear's patience, something that invites you to soften your own racing thoughts. Even dreams in hibernation are different. You may wonder, do bears dream through the long winter? Scientists believe that bears may enter phases of lighter sleep within torpor, where dreams could flicker, but their brain activity suggests fewer vivid dream cycles compared to your nightly REM sleep. Their slumber is less about wandering the landscapes of imagination and more about surrendering to biological necessity. Still, perhaps in some way, even bears drift into a half-dream, where the memory of running rivers and sunlit meadows glimmers. Faintly in the quiet of their minds, the den itself becomes part of this story. Some bears find caves. Others dig into the earth or seek hollows beneath tree roots. The den is more than shelter. It is a womb-like space, a container of transformation. Inside, time blurs. Days and nights lose their meaning. The world outside continues to turn, snow to fall, winds to howl, but within, there is only the rhythm of breath, the slow measure of heartbeats, the steady passage into renewal. When spring comes, the bear stirs. Slowly, the body wakes, hunger rising like a returning tide. Muscles stretch, eyes blink open to new light. The bear emerges into a changed world, one that has waited with it. And yet, unlike you after a single night's sleep, the bear does not rush immediately into action. It rises with caution, testing the air, seeking food gently, allowing itself time to adjust to life outside. It knows that renewal, too, must be patient. There is an echo here for you as well. When you wake, Whether from a single night's sleep or from a longer season of rest in your life, you need not leap immediately into noise and hurry. You too can step softly, take time to adjust, and honor the slowness of waking. Hibernation reminds you that rest is not escape. It is not absent. It is a vital rhythm, one that holds life steady in the face of difficulty. For bears, it carries them across the hardest months of winter. For you, rest carries you across your own winters, whether they are of the body, the mind, or the spirit. And so, as you breathe slowly now, imagining the soft breath of the bear in its den, you may feel a kinship. You are not so different. You too have moments when the world calls you to pause, to slow, to conserve. You too can find strength in stillness. Outside the bear's den, snow continues to fall. The forest sleeps. Time is patient. Within the darkness, life is preserved, waiting for its season to return. You may not be in a cave beneath the earth, but you, too, carry a den within you, a place of quiet where you can retreat, restore, and prepare. And as you linger in this thought, you may find yourself wondering about other creatures of the cold. For the bear is not alone in its strange relationship with winter. There are frogs that freeze almost solid, birds that migrate to chase warmth, and tiny mammals whose hearts nearly stop as they hide beneath the snow. Each has its own way of answering the season's call. The bear, with its timeless pause, has shown you the secret of patience. But patience wears many faces in the animal world. What does it mean, you may ask yourself, when rest takes the form not of slowness, but of something even more extreme, when creatures allow themselves to freeze, trusting utterly in life's ability to return? Mice and sparrows surrender to brief, fragile cycles of rest, their tiny hearts racing even in dreams. Their sleep is shallow but frequent, like lanterns flickering in the dark. You notice how size shapes slumber. Small creatures must sleep differently than giants. In their rest, you glimpse the delicate balance between vulnerability and renewal. Imagine yourself holding a mouse in a soft cradle of your hands. Its body weighs almost nothing, a delicate bundle of fur and bone and warmth. Yet within that tiny frame beats a heart, so fast it feels like a tremor, a vibration rather than a rhythm. A mouse's heart can race at over 600 beats per minute, a tempo so rapid it blurs into a hum, like the wings of a hummingbird. And as the heart races, so too does time. For creatures this small, life moves quickly. They eat often, they dart through shadows, and when they sleep, they do so lightly, never venturing far into the abyss of unconsciousness. Their slumber is fragile, a candle flickering in a draught. It must be brief, because the world around them is never safe for long. The owl waits, the fox waits. Even the rustle of the grass can be a threat. And so, for the mouse, sleep becomes not a long descent, but a series of quick sips, moments of restoration, scattered like droplets through the night. You may close your eyes now and imagine what that feels like. A sleep of 2 or 3 minutes, broken by sudden waking. The ears twitch. The whiskers sense the air. The tiny body scans the world again. Then, once more, eyes close, and another shallow wave of rest carries the mouse a short distance forward, just enough to survive. This pattern tells you something profound. Sleep is not one shape, not one rule that all beings obey. For the mouse, survival depends on vigilance. Rest must bend to danger. Birds share this fragility, though their realm is not the ground, but the open sky. A sparrow on a branch, chest fluttering with the rush of oxygen through its small body, drifts into cycles of sleep as brief as the mouse's. But for the sparrow, rest carries yet another risk, gravity itself. To sleep too deeply is to lose balance, to fall. And so the sparrow adapts. Its feet lock around the branch, a perfect mechanism that keeps it perched even as awareness fades. Still, its sleep is never heavy. The sparrow's dreams, if they come, must be as light as its feathers, ready to dissolve the instant a shadow passes above. Predators move quickly, and the sparrow must wake quicker still. Its rest, like the mouse's, is fragile, yet it is enough to keep wings beating and songs rising with the dawn. Notice how size bends time. The smaller the body, the faster the heart must beat, the faster metabolism must churn, and the shorter each pause for sleep can be. Large animals, like elephants or whales, need less frequent rest. Their size buys them patience. But for the sparrow and the mouse, every second is precious, every nap brief. Their lives are compressed into rhythms that move at a tempo you can barely comprehend. Think of your own sleep now. Hours stretched beneath blankets, long dreams weaving stories through the night. To you, sleep is a journey long and unfolding. But to the mouse, to the sparrow, sleep is a staccato rhythm, a scattering of sparks rather than a continuous flame. And yet, both are asleep, both restore, both protect life in their own way. In science, this difference is sometimes explained by the energy trade-off. Small creatures burn fuel faster. Their bodies cannot afford to go long without replenishment, without vigilance. So their sleep is shallow, more vulnerable, but also more frequent. Each micro-sleep is a sip of stillness. In their vulnerability, you see resilience, the courage to rest even when the world remains sharp with danger. Picture the forest at night. The great owl surveys from its branch, yellow eyes scanning the ground. Below, a mouse moves cautiously, pausing to nibble, pausing again to sleep. For a moment, its eyes close, its breathing shifts, and the world dissolves into a quick dream. Perhaps in that instant, it dreams of tunnels, of warmth, of seeds hidden in safety. But the dream lasts only as long as silence allows. The snap of a twig shatters it. The mouse wakes. Its fragile slumber has ended, but survival continues. Birds, too, sometimes master a different trick, unihemispheric sleep. Like dolphins in the sea, some birds allow one half of their brain to rest while the other remains alert. A flock flying through the night sky may never fully surrender. Each bird, drifting into half-sleep, keeps one eye open, one wing steady. This adaptation allows them to journey for days, crossing oceans without ever fully leaving the world of wakefulness. Sleep, once again, bends to survival. Now imagine sparrows in a city. They perch on telephone wires, hundreds of them lying together, chests rising and falling in quick unison. They, too, rest in shallow waves, waking at the flicker of a streetlight or the rumble of a passing car. Even in the human world, their sleep remains fragile, tuned to the rhythms of danger and change. You might wonder, do such small creatures dream? Do they know the vivid worlds that you sometimes wander in your own sleep? Science suggests that mice, like humans, pass through REM sleep, the stage linked to dreaming. Tiny though they are, their brains flicker with bursts of activity. Perhaps they dream of mazes, of finding food, of escaping predators. Perhaps their dreams, like their lives, are fleeting yet intense, flashes of feeling compressed into heartbeats. Birds, too, show signs of dreaming. A zebra finch, for instance, will rehearse its song in its sleep. Neurons fire in patterns that mirror the melodies it practices while awake. In slumber, the bird remembers and perfects the notes it will sing with. Dawn. Imagine that. Dreams not as random stories, but as practice, as rehearsal, as preparation for life's performance. And so, the fragile sleep of birds and mice carries wisdom for you too. It shows that even the smallest creatures dare to rest, even when danger lingers. It shows that sleep is not always about safety, but about necessity. To pause, even briefly, is to survive. To close your eyes, even for moments, is to trust the world enough to let go. Now, pause with me. Breathe slowly. Imagine your heart slowing, your body resting. Unlike the mouse, unlike the sparrow, you have the luxury of deeper sleep. You are sheltered, safe enough to surrender for hours. But remembering their fragile slumber can bring gratitude for the walls that protect you, for the time you are allowed to rest, for the dreams you can carry without fear of interruption. Still, their lesson lingers. Life does not always allow for long pauses. Sometimes rest must be found in small moments, a breath between tasks, a quiet glance at the sky, a brief closing of the eyes on a crowded train. These are your mouse moments, your sparrow pauses, fragments of renewal scattered. Through the rush of living and the fragility of their rest lies a resilience that is easy to overlook. You may think of fragility as weakness, but here it is survival. The mouse sleeps though the owl hunts. The sparrow dreams though gravity waits. Vulnerability does not stop them. It shapes them. It teaches them how to rest even in the presence of fear. Perhaps you too have known fragile sleep. Nights when the world felt heavy, when worries perched on your chest, when dreams broke into fragments. On such nights, remember the sparrow, remember the mouse. Rest does not need to be perfect to be enough. Even broken sleep can carry you forward. Even brief pauses can be survival. The rhythm of life is not uniform. For some, it is long, slow waves. For others, it is quick, trembling sparks. Yet all are connected by the need for pause, the universal call to renewal. The mouse beneath the grass, the sparrow in the sky, and you here, breathing slowly in the dark, all joined in the fragile, wondrous act of sleep. And as you think of them, you sense the question forming. If smallness brings fragility, what of creatures who live even smaller lives? What of insects, those fleeting sparks whose worlds move faster still? Do they too sleep? Or do they know some other rhythm? Of rest entirely? Bees doze gently among flowers, their bodies swaying with dreams of nectar. Even fruit flies, so small, so fleeting, need pockets of rest. Sleep here becomes ancient, not bound to size or intelligence, but woven into the very fabric of life. You realize that even the smallest lives carry within them a hidden world of quiet, surrender. You imagine yourself moving through a meadow in the slow warmth of evening. The air is golden, thick with the scent of pollen and soft winds that bend the grass into waves. At first, you think all is quiet, but when you listen more closely, you notice a low vibration in the air, the hum of countless wings. Bees drift from flower to flower, their paths wandering but purposeful, like dancers tracing invisible spirals. Their bodies are heavy with pollen, their flight beginning to slow as twilight thickens. And then, almost imperceptibly, some of them stop. They clutch gently at petals, tiny feet locking into place, and they grow still. A bee, asleep. The image feels strange at first. You might imagine bees as creatures of perpetual motion, forever buzzing, forever in search of nectar. Yet they, too, rest. Bees experience a kind of slumber, their antennae drooping, their buzzing falling silent, their bodies pausing as though the whole world has exhaled. They do not curl into nests like mammals or fold into burrows like foxes. Instead, they sleep, where they stand, or rather where they cling. On a flower, in the crook of a stem, even resting lightly against another bee, they allow themselves to drift into stillness. Sleep, you realize, is not only the privilege of large creatures with complex brains. It is something deeper, something older. Even here, in the smallest of minds, it appears like a quiet law, a rhythm hidden in the cycles of life. Scientists who have studied bees notice changes when they rest. Their responsiveness drops. They are less likely to react to vibrations or movement around them. Their tiny bodies show altered patterns of neural activity, suggesting that, in their way, they are entering something that parallels your own sleep. Dreams, perhaps not, but certainly pauses, little doorways into silence. You picture a bee, resting, wings folded, golden fuzz glowing faintly in the moonlight. Even in that stillness, its heart beats, its tiny body continues to hum with life. But the urgency has dissolved. For a few moments, it yields to quiet, and bees are not alone. Fruit flies, creatures so small you might dismiss them as mere specks in your kitchen, also sleep. It is strange to imagine, isn't it? A fruit fly, whose whole life lasts just days or weeks, still gives over hours to sleep. When deprived of rest, it shows patterns eerily similar to your own exhaustion. Its movements grow sluggish, its reactions dulled. When allowed to recover, it sleeps longer, catching up in a way that mirrors the rebound sleep you know after a sleepless night. So fragile, so brief, and yet still bound to this need for rest. It tells you something profound. Sleep is not just a convenience. It is not merely comfort, nor simply a chance to restore tired muscles. Sleep is woven into the very biology of life itself. Even the tiniest creatures carry this ancient inheritance. Somewhere deep in the timeline of evolution, long before mammals, long before reptiles or fish, life itself began to lean into cycles of activity and quiet, waking and sleeping. To sleep, in one form or another, is to be alive. You follow the thought further. A bee dreaming on a flower, a fruit fly resting on a leaf. What does their stillness mean? They are vulnerable in these moments, exposed to the world, unable to defend themselves quickly. And yet, the cycle is non-negotiable. Survival depends not just on vigilance, but also on surrender. Sleep, even here, is a necessity, and this necessity reveals a paradox. The smaller the creature, the more frequent and fragile its rest tends to be. A mouse, as you recall, falls asleep in quick, shallow bursts. A sparrow naps in intervals, always alert to predators. Insects, with their tiny hearts and delicate frames, rest in even shorter flickers of quiet. Their smallness makes them vulnerable, and yet their smallness also demands more frequent cycles of renewal. The smaller the flame, the more often it must be shielded. You imagine the meadow again. The day is ending, the light fading into soft blues and purples. A bee clings to a flower, antennae still, as though it has chosen this petal as its bed. Nearby, a grasshopper nestles into the blades, its long legs folded, its body holding to the rhythm of night. Even the cicadas, whose song fills the air with endless waves of sound, will rest eventually, their bodies dropping into silence as the stars rise. You notice how peaceful it feels to imagine them. Like this, tiny creatures that seem always in motion, always churning forward, yet here they too surrender. It makes you think of your own restless cycles, the times you find it hard to stop, hard to let the world fall quiet around you. If even a bee can allow itself to sleep where it stands, if even a fruit fly gives itself over to stillness, perhaps you too can soften into that same rhythm. Science finds beauty here too. Insects do not have brains like yours, no vast networks for language, no sprawling cortex for imagination. And yet, they still exhibit what researchers call sleep-like states. They slow, they pause, they regain function afterward. Some even show signs of memory strengthening during these rests, as though sleep, in its most primitive form, still shapes the way life learns and remembers. Think of that. A fruit fly dozing in the shadow of an apple might awaken with a sharpened sense of where food can be found, its memory consolidated in the quiet intervals of sleep. A bee, resting after a day of flight, may return to the hive with more clarity, its navigation refined by the brief dreams of stillness. What is memory, then, but a kind of dream that the body weaves into itself during sleep? What is sleep but a thread that even the smallest minds carry, linking their days together, ensuring survival through a rhythm older than consciousness itself? The thought expands. If bees sleep, if flies sleep, if crickets, ants, and moths all sleep in their own ways, then sleep itself is not a luxury of intelligence. It is not the product of a complex brain alone. It is something that life itself craves. A pause written into the deepest codes of being. A pause that does not ask for understanding, but insists upon repetition. You let that idea wash over you, slowly, like the dark spreading across the meadow. The bees rest, the moths fold their wings, the cicadas silence themselves, the flies fall still, and somewhere within you, the same rhythm pulses. Not separate, not different, simply another voice in the chorus of life's endless song of waking and resting. The insects remind you of humility. Sleep is not grand. It does not need vast beds, pillows, or rituals. Sometimes it is only a moment of stillness, clinging to a stem, folding wings against the night, allowing the world to hold you as you drift. Perhaps that is the most ancient lesson they give, that sleep is not about the form it takes, but the surrender it offers. Whether curled beneath blankets or balanced on a flower petal, the act is the same. To trust the night, to trust the pause, to rest so that life may continue. And as you picture the meadow emptying of motion, every insect bowing in silence to the rhythm of night, you feel your own body softening with them, breath slowing, muscles loosening, thoughts scattering like pollen on a breeze. The meadow grows darker. Stars lift above the horizon, a thin ribbon of silver. The hum has stilled, and only the gentle chorus of crickets remains, fading and swelling, like the earth itself breathing. You realize that in this simple rhythm, in the smallest of creatures, lies the same truth that binds elephants, dolphins, mice, and humans alike. Life rests, because life must dot, and if even the smallest hearts obey this law, perhaps it is not weakness, but the purest form of strength. On the wide golden plains, sleep is never simple. For the hunted, it is a flicker, a fragile trust in silence. For the hunters, it is deeper, weighted with the luxury of strength. Here, rest is not just biology, it is strategy, written into the rhythm of survival. The savanna stretches before you in soft waves of grass, a sea of gold beneath a sky that changes endlessly. During the day, the land vibrates with life. Herds move in slow unison. Predators slink low in shadows, and birds circle high overhead. But at night, when the air cools and the colors soften to shades of silver and blue, another rhythm takes over, the rhythm of sleep. Yet here, sleep is not the gentle, sheltered act it might be in your own bed. On the savanna, rest is a negotiation with danger, a compromise between the body's need for renewal and the ever-present possibility of being hunted. You imagine yourself as a small gazelle, folding your legs beneath you as the night settles in. The stars are bright, the air is cool, and fatigue pulls at your muscles. Yet you cannot sink fully into slumber. Your ears remain turned outward, twitching at the faintest rustle. Your eyes close only halfway, lids quivering, ready to snap open. Again, for prey animals, sleep is fragile. Brief dips into rest rather than the long descent into dreaming. Science calls this polyphasic sleep, sleep taken in many short fragments rather than a single block of time. But for the gazelle, it is not theory. It is survival. Your body wants stillness, but your mind stays tethered to alertness. You drift into what researchers call slow-wave sleep, the deepest, most restorative stage, but only for a few minutes before rising again, scanning, breathing, listening. The cycle repeats again and again. Rest, but never surrender. Sleep in this world is not about luxury. It is about maintaining just enough strength to leap if danger appears. Now picture the lion, sprawled in tall grass not far away. Its belly is heavy with the meal of the evening, its breath slow and deep. Lions can sleep for up to 20 hours in a single day, their bodies sinking easily into both light and deep stages of rest. They are hunters, and once fed, they afford themselves the privilege of stillness. Their sleep is not fractured by fear of ambush. Their confidence as apex predators allows them to sink deeply, to surrender to REM cycles where the mind may weave its own dreams. This contrast, the hunted sleeping lightly, the hunter sleeping deeply, reveals how sleep is shaped not only by biology, but by role, by place in the ecosystem story. Sleep becomes a strategy. For one creature, it is vigilance with brief windows of repair. For another, it is indulgence, restoration, and energy gathered for the next pursuit. Scientists studying sleep patterns on the savanna have noticed this striking balance. Antelope rarely enter long REM states. Their dreams, if they exist, are fleeting, shimmering fragments that vanish almost instantly. Their safety depends on it. A second too long in deep sleep could mean not waking at all. Lions, on the other hand, display extended REM cycles, often twitching their whiskers and paws in what appear to be dream states. Their brains process memories, rehearse motions, perhaps even replay the chase. Where prey live in half-light, predators allow themselves to drift into full night. And yet, even predators are not entirely free from the pull of vigilance. A pride of lions does not all sleep at once. While some rest, others remain partially awake, shifting their ears to catch the movement of herds, the padding of rival predators, or the distant rumble of elephants. Sleep here is social, distributed across the group, much like sentries on watch. The lion's trust in its power is real, but never absolute. In the savanna, even kings must keep watch. Consider the elephants too, the quiet giants who walk across the plains. Their sleep is astonishingly short, often less than 2 hours a day. Much of this rest happens standing, their bodies swaying slightly, eyes half closed. Lying down is rare, and when it happens, it is brief. Why? Because to lower such an enormous body makes them vulnerable, and rising again requires effort and time. Instead, elephants take their sleep in fragments, sometimes while walking, sometimes beneath the stars. Their dreams, if they dream at all, must be brief flashes, like sparks in a dark field. You begin to notice a pattern. Size, strength, and vulnerability all sculpt the architecture of sleep. Smaller, weaker prey fragment their rest into many shallow pauses. Larger predators and confident hunters sink into long stretches. And in between lie creatures like elephants or giraffes, balancing immense bodies with the physics of lying down and rising again. Each animal adapts its rhythm of sleep, not just to biology, but to risk, to the constant equation of survival. There is something humbling in this realization. You, too, are part of this spectrum. Your own sleep may feel private, but it is shaped by ancient echoes of vigilance. The sudden startle in the middle of the night, the instinct to listen to the faintest sound in darkness. These may be remnants of a time when your ancestors also slept lightly under skies alive with both predators and prey. Evolution has left traces in your rest, just as it has shaped the gazelle's fractured naps and the lion's indulgent slumber. On the savanna, sleep is woven into the ecology of time. When predators hunt, prey stay vigilant, their rest shrinking into the smallest fragments. After a kill, when lions are fed, a kind of uneasy peace settles in. Antelope lower their heads and take longer rests, sensing that for now, danger has passed. The rhythm of sleep and wake in this landscape is like breathing, inhale, exhale, expanding, contracting, shaped by cycles of hunger and safety. If you look closer, you realize how sleep here is both personal and collective. A herd of zebras rests in a circle, their heads turned outward, keeping watch while their bodies steal moments of rest. Within this circle, individuals take turns drifting into deeper phases. Community itself becomes a strategy for survival in slumber. A zebra alone may barely close its eyes. A zebra among many may surrender a little more. Safety, in this way, is shared. Science suggests that even the duration of sleep is tied to these balances. Prey animals, on average, sleep fewer hours per day than predators. The contrast is striking. Lions sleep nearly 20 hours, antelope only a few. Evolution has tuned their circadian rhythms not merely to the rise and fall of the sun, but to the pulse of fear, the constant possibility of interruption. Sleep, it seems, is not one universal thing, but many, shaped by size, role, risk, and need. As you drift deeper into this thought, you notice how the savanna itself seems to sleep in layers. The tall grasses sway gently, whispering in the night breeze. The insects quiet, then stir, then quiet again. The moon rises, painting silver across the plains. In every sound and silence, there is rhythm, the savanna itself breathing, resting, waking. And you realize that your own rest, too, is part of this ancient continuity. You may not live with the same constant threat of ambush, but your sleep carries its own strategies. You rest deeply when safe, lightly when uncertain. You shift, stir, and open your eyes at night, echoes of vigilance inherited from ancestors who once kept watch on landscapes not unlike this. The savanna teaches you that sleep is not a weakness. It is adaptation, survival, and renewal all at once. They sleep lightly, but they endure. Predators sleep deeply, but they must wake to hunt again. Even the land, in its way, seems to pulse between rest and activity, between silence and sound. You close your eyes now, feeling the vastness of this truth. Sleep is never just the absence of wakefulness. It is a negotiation, a pattern written across bodies and landscapes. In the savanna, that negotiation is vivid, shaped by every ear that twitches in the dark and every chest that rises and falls in surrender. And as the horizon begins to pale, the savanna slowly stirs. Antelope rise and graze, lions stretch and yawn, elephants move silently onward. The night of uneasy rest dissolves into the light of day. Yet the story of sleep here lingers, reminding you of the delicate balance between risk and renewal. What does it mean, you wonder, for creatures who can rest only lightly, always halfway in the world, halfway in dreams? And what does it mean for you, with your gift of safety, to sink deeper, to dream longer, to surrender fully to the quiet night? Asterisk, beneath the surface of slumber, animals process the world they have lived. Rats replay mazes in their dreams. Birds rehearse their songs in night's quiet rehearsal. Sleep becomes a silent tutor, guiding memory and shaping behavior. You feel how your own dreams, too, may be secret teachers, weaving fragments of waking life into something new. Close your eyes and imagine a rat, tiny and cautious, exploring the twists of a miniature maze. Its whiskers brush against walls, nose sniffing for the faintest scent of reward. Every turn is recorded in the mind, every choice etched into memory. The day passed in motion, the maze conquered step by step. And then night comes. The rat curls in a small bed of straw, a safe corner in its cage or burrow. Its breathing slows. Its muscles relax. Its eyes, closed now, hide the frantic exploration of the day. But inside the brain, a remarkable process begins. The very neurons that guided it through twists and turns begin to fire again, in patterns that mirror the journey. The rat dreams, replaying the maze. Every decision, every dead end, every correct path loops silently. In sleep, the rat rehearses what it has learned, reinforcing the pathways in its brain. Imagine that. A night spent in quiet repetition, a rehearsal that strengthens memory without conscious effort. Sleep, for the rat, is not merely rest. It is a teacher, a mentor whispering the lessons of the day back into readiness for tomorrow. In its dreams, the rat practices, perfects, and prepares, all without waking. Birds, too, engage in these nocturnal rehearsals. Consider the zebra finch, its tiny body balanced on a branch as night descends. By day, it sings intricate melodies, each note learned from older birds, each variation shaped by experience. As darkness falls, the bird's mind does not stop. It replays the song, neuron by neuron, melody by melody, consolidating patterns of learning into memory. Its dreams are melodies in motion, rehearsals that refine the voice it will carry into the morning light. You begin to sense a pattern. Sleep is not a void, not an absence. Sleep is active, a subtle dance within the brain, an invisible map of learning and memory. While the body rests, the mind practices. While muscles are still, neurons fire. While awareness sleeps, understanding grows. Even larger animals, whose brains carry more complex networks, engage in this quiet education. Dolphins, floating in half-sleep, consolidate spatial memories of the ocean, remembering where reefs lie, where currents shift, where prey is likely to gather. Elephants, in brief bouts of hibernation-like rest, replay social interactions, reinforcing relationships within their herds. Sleep is a tutor without words, a rehearsal without an audience, a map without borders. And in these acts, you can glimpse the origins of your own dreaming. You, too, replay fragments of your waking life, conversations, decisions, places you have been. Sleep becomes a workshop for memory, a rehearsal hall for the mind, a theater where fragments of reality are reorganized and refined. In dreams, connections emerge that might have escaped notice while awake. A solution appears, a relationship clarifies, a hidden link is revealed. Sleep, in this sense, is not passive. It is profoundly generative. Scientific studies offer evidence of this. In rats, neurons active during maze navigation fire again during subsequent sleep, particularly in the stage known as REM, or rapid eye movement. Birds show similar patterns, with song learning reinforced during rest. Humans, too, display neural replay, consolidating memories and embedding lessons from the day into the fabric of the brain. Sleep, it seems, is universal not only as a pause, but as a teacher, quietly shaping the animal's understanding of the world. You notice, perhaps for the first time, the intimacy of this process. Sleep is private, deeply personal, yet it connects all creatures across species and sizes. From the rat to the zebra finch, from the dolphin to yourself, the act of dreaming, of memory consolidation, is a shared rhythm of life. Each mind rehearses, practices, and refines. Each body rests while the mind quietly molds experience into knowledge. Imagine a crow, perched on a high branch as the evening air cools. By day, it has observed the landscape, recognized patterns in human activity, located food caches, and interacted with other crows in subtle social maneuvers. At night, its brain rehearses these discoveries. The crow dreams of movement across the city, the shifting of cars, the patterns of pedestrians. It consolidates spatial memory, strengthens navigation skills, and prepares for the morrow, when knowledge becomes survival. Even the smallest insects, in their brief pockets of sleep, may reinforce neural patterns. Bees, in mid-slumber, consolidate their learning of flower locations and hive communication dances. Memory is not the exclusive domain of large brains. It is a function of life itself, woven into neurons, synapses, and the quiet pauses that punctuate. Activity. You begin to notice the poetry in these mechanisms. Sleep is both practical and sublime. It allows animals to survive, to remember, to learn. And yet it feels intimate, almost sacred, a private landscape where memory is sculpted. Decisions are rehearsed, and patterns are traced over and over until they are permanent. Sleep teaches without judgment, practices without awareness, guides without instruction. And in that, you realize how precious your own sleep is. Every dream, every fleeting memory, every fragment of waking life processed as you drift carries a lesson. You too rehearse. You too consolidate. The dreams that seem strange or random may, in their own way, be a map, guiding you, shaping you, helping you navigate the world. Consider the gentle cycles of sleep. Slow wave sleep, deep and restorative, strengthens factual memory, the kind that allows a rat to remember a maze or a human to remember a lecture. REM sleep, vibrant and active, strengthens procedural memory, the kind that allows a bird to perfect its song or a person to refine a skill. Sleep separates, classifies, and consolidates. It is a quiet cartographer of the mind. Animals of every size demonstrate this. A cat, curled on a windowsill, may replay hunting movements in dreams, paws twitching as if chasing an unseen mouse. A dolphin, half asleep, navigates imaginary currents, refining memory of its pod's movements. Even elephants, in brief rest, process social dynamics, embedding experience into knowledge. The pattern is consistent. Sleep as rehearsal. Sleep as teacher. Sleep as map. And your own mind participates in this same ancient rhythm. Nightly dreams may seem nonsensical, ephemeral, but they serve a purpose far beyond conscious awareness. Dreams integrate new knowledge, consolidate patterns, rehearse problem solving, and even allow emotional processing. Sleep is a laboratory without walls, an experiment without an audience, a rehearsal without performance. Yet its effects manifest fully in waking life. You feel yourself drifting further, noticing the subtle connections. The rat's maze, the bird song, the dolphin's swim, the elephant's social memory, all echo in your own experience. Sleep is both individual and universal. It is a process shared across the living world, a reminder that the act of resting is also the act of learning. And here, in this awareness, comes the gentle realization that dreaming is not idle. It is not wasted time. It is an active shaping of experience, a careful reweaving of the threads of life into something stronger, more resilient, more interconnected. Sleep is a silent guide, quietly directing, softly teaching, endlessly mapping the terrain of life. Perhaps this is why sleep feels sacred, why dreams sometimes linger long after waking. They are not random. They are maps, paths traced by memory and imagination, pathways built from your life's experiences and rehearsed in the privacy of rest. Sleep guides without you knowing, teaches without instruction, heals without words. And now, as you feel your own breathing deepen, your mind slowing, you can imagine the quiet work happening within you. Your memories are being strengthened. Your lessons are replayed. Your skills are rehearsed. Even small experiences from today may be integrated into tomorrow's understanding. The process is gentle, invisible, intimate, yet profoundly essential dot in the world around you. The same is happening. Animals of all kinds, from the smallest mouse to the soaring bird, the swimming dolphin to the wandering elephant, are guided by sleep in the same way. Memory, learning, rehearsal, all take place in the delicate space between wakefulness and dream. Sleep is a teacher, but one that does not demand attention, only surrender. And as you sink further into this understanding, you feel the rhythm of life itself, the gentle hum of waking and sleeping, the ceaseless shaping of experience by the quiet mind, the invisible hand of memory weaving the day into tomorrow. Every form of sleep carries an echo of the great rest we all face. In stillness, you sense how sleep mirrors life's impermanence, yet also its renewal. Watching animals yield to slumber, you realize that sleep is not the absence of life, but its rhythm, its pause, its promise of continuation. With this thought, you drift deeper, holding the quiet wonder of the animal world close to your own breath. Imagine yourself lying in a meadow at dusk, the air soft and warm, the horizon slowly folding into shades of violet and indigo. All around you, life settles. The insects quiet their movements. The birds have vanished from the branches. Even the wind seems to pause, holding its breath for the night. In this vast stillness, you feel the pulse of life and the pulse of rest intertwined, inseparable. Sleep has arrived for all things, from the smallest beetle to the wandering herds in the distance. And you notice how deeply this rest mirrors something greater, something eternal. Animals sleep in countless forms, each adapted to its own needs, yet all sharing this intimate rhythm. Some lie flat, limbs tucked beneath them, eyes softly closed. Others perch on branches, swaying with the night breeze, alert yet surrendering. Some float in the water, rising just enough to breathe before drifting back into the gentle sway of currents. Each creature, in its own way, touches a moment of what feels like eternity, a stillness that is both temporary and timeless. You begin to sense a quiet analogy. Sleep is the echo of life's impermanence. Each rest, brief or long, is a reminder that living is movement and activity, and that the pause is as vital as the motion. Sleep teaches surrender. Sleep teaches patience. Sleep teaches trust in the continuity of the world, even when your awareness is suspended. And perhaps, deep within this rhythm, there is a reflection of the greatest rest, death, not as something frightening or final, but as the ultimate universal. Pause. Life, after all, is made up of cycles. Wake, sleep, wake again. For some creatures, hibernation stretches this cycle into months, a suspension of metabolic activity so profound it resembles a quiet glimpse of eternal rest. Bears fold into their dens, hearts slowing, breaths shallow. Even their dreams fade to whispers. In their slumber, the boundary between life and stillness softens, hinting at a rhythm larger than themselves. You imagine the silent forest surrounding the den, every branch and leaf holding its breath. You notice how the bear's sleep is, microcosm of life's cycles, each inhale and exhale a meditation on continuity. The forest does not stop. The river flows quietly nearby, carrying life onward. The bear rests, and in that rest, it participates in the larger rhythm of existence, a rhythm that will continue long after this moment. The same is true for all animals. Birds drift into micro-sleeps while perched high on branches, tiny intervals of unconsciousness that sustain them without halting the rhythm of the day. Dolphins float with one half of their brain awake, breathing without thought, resting without ceasing. Even insects, so small and fleeting, enter periods of inactivity, a fragile yielding to the night. Sleep is a common thread, a shared surrender across the living world. And within this surrender lies a quiet wisdom, that to pause is not to end, but to continue in another form, in another cycle. You consider your own sleep, the soft inhalations and exhalations of your body as it relaxes. You notice how life feels suspended in these moments, yet your body, your mind, your very cells are alive and renewing. Sleep is not absent. Sleep is rhythm. Sleep is life in slow motion, a bridge between one consciousness and the next, between one moment and the next. The animals around you, in their myriad ways of resting, whisper this truth. The lion sprawled in the savannah, chest rising and falling, in heavy, untroubled breaths, reminds you that even power requires rest. The gazelle, alert yet partially surrendered to sleep, reminds you that vigilance and surrender coexist. The elephant swaying gently in the moonlight teaches you that rest can be brief yet profound, measured yet meaningful. Even the bee, clinging to a flower folded in a delicate embrace with the night, demonstrates that life can pause without losing its vitality. All these forms of sleep carry the same lesson. Life is resilient. Life is adaptive. Life is a rhythm of waking and pausing, of motion and stillness, of exertion and yielding. And yet, woven into this rhythm is the shadow of eternity. Every sleep is a rehearsal for that final, ultimate pause. It is a gentle preparation for the truth that all life will one day cease to move, to breathe, to be conscious. Yet the cycle of life itself will continue, carried on by others, by generations, by the patterns of the natural world. You feel the weight of this thought, not as fear, but as quiet wonder. Sleep is a mirror, reflecting life's impermanence. Yet in this reflection, there is also continuity. The bear's winter rest mirrors the slow drift of the seasons. The dolphin's half-sleep mirrors the endless flow of the ocean. The bird's night song rehearsal mirrors the daily cycles of dawn and dusk. Sleep and ultimately death do not erase life. They transform it, folding one state into another, teaching patience, surrender, and trust. Even in your own mind, dreams arise from this rhythm. You may see fragments of the day, interactions, decisions, small victories, quiet, regrets, woven together into new forms. Dreams consolidate memory, rehearse skills, and integrate experience. In a way, your nightly journeys echo the same processes you have observed in the animal world: memory, learning, adaptation, and the subtle shaping of life by quiet pause. Sleep is a tutor, a guide, a bridge, and yet, as you drift deeper into this reflection, you notice the shadow of finality lingering softly at the edge of thought. Death, in its ultimate stillness, resembles sleep in ways both comforting and profound. The rhythmic rise and fall of the chest, the soft pulsing of the heart, the quieting of awareness, all are mirrored in sleep. You begin to see that in every rest, life practices the surrender it will one day undergo. There is no terror here, only a patient rehearsal of the final, eternal exhale. The vastness of this idea is humbling. You realize that all animals, from the smallest fruit fly to the largest whale, carry within them a microcosm of life's impermanence. Even the fleeting rests of insects echo the rhythm of existence, reminding you that every pause matters, that every moment of rest is a step along the path of continuity. Life, in its infinite forms, honors rest, practices patience, and prepares for both renewal and the inevitable cessation. The savanna, the forest, the ocean, the hive, each is alive. With this quiet wisdom, night descends, and with it, the gentle hum of life surrendering to pause. Crickets trill softly in fields. Owls glide silently overhead. Wolves curl in their dens. Fish float in still waters. Each follows the pattern, unconsciously aligning with a universal cadence that stretches beyond consciousness itself. And in this understanding, you sense a profound calm. Sleep is not lost. Sleep is not emptiness. Sleep is rhythm, continuity, a bridge. Every breath in slumber, every heartbeat slowed, every neuron quietly active is a testament to the persistence of life. Even in stillness, life moves forward. Even in yielding, life endures. You notice how intimate this connection feels. When you close your eyes tonight, you join the chorus of animals resting. You enter the vast pattern of living beings surrendering to pause, yielding to cycles older than memory, rhythms older than language. Sleep connects you to the smallest creatures, the largest predators, and the invisible currents of the natural world. You are part of this rhythm, and it holds you with a soft, unbroken certainty. And perhaps, in that gentle surrender, you touch something larger still. Sleep, death, and life are not separate. They are a continuum, a wave that rises and falls, flows and rests, repeats and renews. Each animal practicing its nightly pause participates in this rhythm. Each breath, each heartbeat, each quiet movement is a note in the grand composition of existence. As your own body softens, muscles releasing, mind quieting, you feel the connection. Sleep becomes sacred, not because it is rare or special, but because it is a reflection of life's deepest truth. All things move, all things pause, all things continue. Even in the shadow of mortality, the rhythm persists. Rest is not absence. Rest is presence in a form slower, gentler, more expansive than wakefulness. And so you drift with the animals through meadows, forests, oceans, and skies. With every exhale, you sink further into the rhythm of life. With every heartbeat, you join the quiet procession of sleep practiced across species. The lion, the gazelle, the bear, the dolphin, the insect, all exist in harmony with the pattern. And in this harmony, you discover the profound continuity of existence, the soft thread connecting slumber to renewal, life to final rest. As our journey through the strange world of animal sleep comes to a close, take a moment to feel the quiet rhythm of life all around you. From the flutter of a hummingbird's microsleep to the gentle sway of a sleeping elephant, every creature teaches us that rest is not weakness, but a vital, beautiful part of existence. Let the patterns of nature guide you, not only in sleep, but in your waking moments. The patience, the balance, the harmony, and the small, hidden miracles that unfold while the world rests. Sleep is a teacher, a companion, a reminder that life continues even in stillness. If tonight's journey brought you peace, wonder, or curiosity, show your support. Like this video to keep the exploration alive. Share it with friends who love gentle science stories. Leave a comment with the animal that fascinated you most. And subscribe to join future journeys into the quiet wonders of our world. Carry this calm with you, breathe deeply, and let the rhythm of life and sleep settle within. Until next time, may your dreams be gentle, your mind at ease, and your heart connected to the quiet marvels of nature.